Okay, thank you everybody again for joining us today. Let me make sure that I am recording. I am. All right. And by the way, I do apologize to Urs. Urs is from, I believe you're from Switzerland, right? And he said Switzerland, and you know what? You guys are playing amazing football. So congratulations on that. And again, thank you so much for joining, guys. We're just going to get started here with our conference call. And many of you met us in New York City. Others have been joining us for a long time, going through the discovery process with Amada. We wanted to afford you an opportunity to speak to one of our franchise partners. Ken Jenson was our second franchise partner, and as of this month, he's actually our highest grossing franchise partner. I believe last month, Ken, you billed at just below $200,000.
Right.
Yeah, and so being the second franchise partner that joined our group, Ken has really seen, what we went from no franchise partners to today 25, and I think it's a great opportunity for everybody who's going through the discovery process to have access to Ken, be able to hear what his story is. And of course, it doesn't mean that Ken is the only representation of what it's like to be an Amada franchise partner or be in the senior care industry. You're of course encouraged and welcome to contact all of our franchise partners. But Ken has so much experience and he's been so successful in Colorado that we wanted to give you the opportunity to meet with him. Just some housekeeping things. You can ask questions through the question panel of your GoToWebinar. We have that open, and I will ask the questions to Ken, and also I will unmute you. So there's two ways to do this. You can ask a question through the questions panel. A lot of times what's really helpful is if you want to ask a question live, we'd love for you to do that. All you have to do is raise your hand. If you go under your name, you can raise your hand, and I'll be able to unmute you, and you can ask the question live to Ken. And I guarantee you that the question you have in mind is the same question a lot of folks will have as well. So please don't be shy and ask the question live if you can. So quick introduction of Ken. He is a graduate of BYU University, and he's been an entrepreneur and in business development his entire career. He'll share more about that himself. I think his biggest achievement is 10 kids, of which I believe we were talking, I think you only have 4 left at home, right, Ken?
Right.
So 4 left at home. Again, a second Amada Senior Care franchise partner, and over $1 million, or just about $1 million in his first year of business. So, Ken, take it away.
Hi, welcome all of you who are here. I hope this isn't a waste of your time. Just to give you a little background on me, I was a stockbroker with Merrill Lynch, and then went and worked, started my own company, or started working for a small company, a lighting company. And then after the lighting company, that kind of flowed into an electrical company, and that kind of flowed into a construction company. And for the last 10 years, I did military construction, military housing all across the country. That kind of closed up a little bit, and so I was looking for a new opportunity and started looking at senior care and home care. I had never been involved with anything like that, but I loved, when I owned the construction company, I loved the ability to hire people and give them a fresh start and a new opportunity. And I also loved, at that point, I loved working with military families. I enjoyed being able to serve and help folks deal with everyday things. And so that's kind of how I got interested in the home care, senior care industry. I, at about 2.5 years ago, started looking around and started thinking, you know, this looked like it was going to be an industry that was going to take off. And so it interested me. I went to quite a few different seminars for other competing companies. In fact, I spent 2 different 8-hour periods where we went to literally a kind of get to know you situation with two of the local competing companies here in Colorado Springs. We actually drove up to Denver and went to those I think they were 8 and 9 hours each. And it was interesting because they had a guy that had been in their organization for about 10 years, and his goal was to do somewhere between $150,000 and $200,000 a year. And with that, he thought that he would be bringing home somewhere in the neighborhood of $85,000 to $120,000 a year. And I looked at the person that we were talking about going into business together, and I said, that doesn't interest me at all. I have no interest in making $120,000 to $140,000 a year. That's not where I want to be. So we decided we were going to start our own home care company. And we bought, in fact, it's sitting right here at my desk, a home care company in a box. It cost me $1,000. And if any of you want it, you are welcome to have it. We got it, and the interesting thing was the very next day, one of my business partners had heard about Amada, and he said, we've heard some great things about Amada, and so I'd never heard of Amada. And so I called up Amada Corporate and said, I'd like to talk to you about a franchise. And so they said, what's your name? I said, it's Ken Jenson. And I said, they said, let you talk to Chad. So I said, okay, great. So on the phone comes Chad Fotheringham. And he says, is this the Ken Jenson from Monument, Colorado? Or no, he said from Newhall, California. And I'm thinking, who the heck knows me? And come to find out, it was Chad and I knew each other when I lived in Southern California, and I was his youth pastor. And so we had a great talk, and I said, Chad, I'm flying out tomorrow. I want to meet with you. And I flew down to Southern California from Colorado and just fell in love with the Amada model. And I think that the way they do business is so unique and so different that it instantly captured my my whole desire to do this industry, because they teach you how to be successful, and they give you the ideas that you can implement to bring clients to your front door and make a difference. They specialize in long-term care insurance. They specialize in helping military families, which was one of my big hot points before. And it seemed like a match made in heaven. And the fact that I'd known Chad his whole life made a big difference to me. And I instantly trusted him. And so we signed up as an Amada franchise and got our licensing here in Colorado. That took, I think we signed up actually in August or last part of July. It took us about 3 months to get our licensing done for the state of Colorado, which was a very interesting process to have to go through. And then we couldn't even market until we had that. And then we started marketing, or I started marketing. And my goal was to build a very broad base to where I would have a lot of different referral sources. And at last check, I think we've gotten referrals from 42 different places. And so we are constantly trying to take care of those referral sources and help them understand that we believe we're the best in the industry. We understand that you have to be, you have to make a choice what market segment you're going to serve. We've chosen to serve the upper level market segment. It's just our desire. Somebody said, I remember the show, somebody asked me, well, if you're charging more than the competition, how are you getting any clients? And I responded, well, the Plaza Hotel in New York City charges more than Motel 6, and yet they don't seem to have a problem being filled. And that's exactly the model that we're trying to implement, is we try and take the best care of our clients and our customers. We try and take care of our caregivers so they feel like they're valued employees. I take care of my office staff so they feel like they're valued employees. And we definitely try and take care of the best we can of our customers. And so it goes all the way from the top to the bottom to try and make our company we have a hotel out here. It's called the Broadmoor Hotel. If any of y'all have stayed here, it's a absolute 5-star resort hotel. And we tell everybody that we're the Broadmoor of Colorado for home care. And then it's kind of the what we try and portray. It's how we try and implement our business. It's how we try and treat people, the whole 9 yards. And so we started marketing, and the idea is I would be the marketer, and then had a partner that was going to be the other side. He would be the office staff and do the scheduling and the hiring and do all the finances, and then we had another partner that was going to be the money partner. So that was the initial setup. Since then, the inside partner has gone away, and we hired office staff to take his place. We got our first client in November of 2012, and we immediately started growing. From our marketing sources, we started getting referrals almost instantly, and we started building those referral sources, and we grew very, very rapidly. I remember in February of 2013, I think we had 21 clients, and we just had a catastrophic week. We had 7 clients die. And so that was, oh my gosh, I remember calling Chad and saying, Chad, I don't know how I'm going to survive this. I have worked so hard to build these 21 clients, and yet, it was a disastrous month. But the interesting thing was, this was right in the first of the month. By the end of the month, we had outbilled January. So we were just continuing to grow. Our goal was to have 100 clients by the end of last year. I think we fell a little bit short of that, but our revenues continued to spiral upwards. I will tell you that my mindset is we can take on any new client, we can accomplish anything you want us to do, and we can do it with such service that people want us to be their home care company. I know we have over 100 clients now, and we are continuing to grow. It is my goal to do $3 million this year, and continue to make my office staff sweat every time I walk in the door. We have multiple weeks where we've signed 8, 9, 10 clients in a week, and so that happens all the time. And a lot of it is because we have great referral sources and the ability from an office standpoint to assign those new clients caregivers and make sure we take care of folks. This has been, of all the jobs I've ever had, this has probably been the funnest job I've ever had, and definitely the most rewarding. It's a situation where you constantly walk in to a crisis situation. A lot of people don't know how to deal with the situation that they've been dealt, and we are there to help. We're there to help them figure out how to take care of their parents or their in-laws, and how to make that palatable for the family. We have lots of sources of monies that we can help them get help from, and we try and help ease the family pain as much as possible. We use long-term care insurance. We use VA aid and attendance. Our local city has an area agency on aging office, and we have a voucher program with them that they can try some free home care, and we use those. We do everything we can to help families provide the home care for their parents so that they can continue to be the kids and let us be the caregivers. It's been a very, very fun and interesting ride over the last year and a half, one that I've totally enjoyed, and I've loved being part of the Amada team. Amada has lots of different front cutting-edge ideas that are constantly keeping us on the edge. I literally leave every morning from my house, usually by 7, sometimes 6:30, and I'm out marketing and talking to people and visiting with clients, visiting with potential clients, and I'm usually gets home 5, 6, 7. Last night I got home at 7:30, and that's kind of my day. Just to make it clear, I have 10 children. I have coached 2 baseball teams, and 3 basketball teams. Before it was 4 basketball teams, but I don't have that many basketball players left. Every winter and every spring, and I've always been able to make my games. I've always been able to make my practices. So I do have a lot of ability to maintain a schedule that's conducive to my family, and I typically never work on Sunday. There have been some emergency calls that I've had to go out on Sunday, but those kind of things happen rarely. But I love it. It's been the greatest thing I've ever done. One of the fun things is we have a local top end assisted living, independent living, and nursing home facility or community. And one night when I first met them, the executive director came up to me and she says, "Ken, you're wasting your time. I love my boys from right at home, and you are never going to get business from me." And so I just kept marketing, and I'd show up every week on the same day, the same time, and just say hi and deliver some stuff there. And I got to know them really, really well. I never took time to I never asked them to meet with me. I just would always drop stuff off and say hi. And one night I got a call, and she said, "Okay, I'm willing to give you a chance." She says, "I've got a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week case. I need a sitter here, and I need her here in an hour." And I said, "Done. I will have her there in an hour." And sure enough, within an hour, I had a gal there, and we took that case, and that was one of our cases that helped us. And no, we started that case in December, and we were on that case all the way through March. So it was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we had to have a caregiver walk with this guy. And I remember one of the big impacts that I made with this company was it was Christmas night, and this gentleman was very agitated because nobody from his family had come to meet with him or see him on Christmas Day. And so my caregiver called me in tears and said, "He is so agitated and mean right now. I don't know what to do." And I said, "I'll be there." And so Christmas night at 10 o'clock, I drove down to this facility and walked with this gentleman for 5 hours. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, he finally looked at me and says, "Okay, I'm ready to go to bed." So took him back to bed, and I went back home. But to that facility or to that community, that spoke volumes about who Amada Senior Care is. And we have gotten tons of clients. I think we have 14 clients in that facility right now. So it's just a lot of the success that you'll achieve from being the owner of Amada Senior Care in your own areas is your direct relationship with your franchise, with your referral sources. When they know that they're dealing with the owner, it makes a big, big difference. And I have found that over and over and over again. I've had the opportunity to go up about 15 times against competition where they've interviewed competition and then they've interviewed me to find out who's going to take care of their parents, and I have yet to lose the case. And I think part of the reason is because I can look at the kids in the face and I can say, "I own Amada Senior Care, and I promise you I will take care of your parents." And that makes all the difference in the world to most people. They want to know that their parents are going to be well taken care of. And as the owner, you can say that because you're in charge. And so that's kind of what I love about Amada. And I don't know, Marcos, is there anything else I should talk about, or is that good?
Yeah, no, that's great. What I want to do is there's a few questions concerning operations. So I'm going to launch this poll here real quick about what do you folks on the call, what do you think is the hardest part of running the business? And then I'd like Ken to get your feedback and your journey in these almost 2 years now. And I know it may be that it's not just one, but there's a couple questions about, how do you manage staffing 8 to 9 clients in a week, right? So that kind of goes back to hiring caregivers. The other question is, can you estimate how many clients did it take for you to start breaking even? And so I thought that this poll would be good to kind of give an idea of what folks are expecting as the hardest part of the business, and then for you to take it away with what was it for you, and just kind of give a little background on that. I'll just give one more second here for the poll, and then we'll close it. So let's go ahead and close it, and I'll share the results. So Ken, here's what the folks think, that hiring caregivers and finding the business is the hardest part. Operations is a little not as hard, and regulations 18%. Give us your feedback on that.
Okay, Chad and Tafa will tell you when I went and met with them, and I told them, guys, I am the sales guy. I am not the operations guy. I am not the guy that's going to do billing. I am not the guy that's going to do scheduling. In fact, even Chad, when we were in New York together, he started laughing. He says, you know, Ken, he says, I knew I liked you the second we started talking operations, and you flipped your computer over to solitaire and started playing solitaire, and it's true. I hate operations. So if you were to ask me, I can sell people all day long. I can find business all day long. I can hire caregivers all day long. Operations, I'd rather slit my throat than do operations. so you all have it all wrong. It's operations is the most difficult. I think the problem, and I will tell everybody this, and I tell everybody this, even the new franchisees, the problem with owning this business is every day you have two choices. You can stay home and do operations, or you can go out and sell. For me, selling is easier than operations. For me, I would prefer to go out and meet with people and talk about Amada and talk about what I do than I would to sit in my office and do operations. I will spend an hour in my office today on this call. That will be probably the longest day this week that I will be in my office. I am never in the office. Yesterday I left at 7 a.m. I didn't get home till 7:30, and I was in my office for 5 minutes. So I am not an operations guy, and so I'm a sales guy, and so I'm always selling. I am always out meeting people. I am trying to get the name of Amada out in my area. So when people think of Amada, they think of me. I've had people that have been in the business for 5 and 6 and 7 and 10 years come up to me and say, how in the world do you do what you do? I said, what do you mean? They say, I see Amada everywhere. I hear about you everywhere. Everywhere I go, everybody's talking about Amada. Every hospital, every SNF, every assisted living, everybody talks about Amada. That's my goal. That's what I do. I literally drive between 150 and 300 miles every single day. I have already today driven 125 miles, and I've had to be back here for already a half hour. So, I mean, that's what I do, and so that's how you get successful.
And Ken, how have you mitigated the operation side? How have you mitigated the operation side?
I hired an office manager, and she has full-blown carte blanche. She is awesome, and we have a biller that does nothing but billing. The reason why those things are so important is we woke up one day about 6 months ago and realized we had $380,000 in receivables, and we have been whittling that down and getting that under control. And I have 2 girls that do nothing but those 2 things. So that's the important thing. You asked when we thought we were break even. I think we started being break even in February, because I think that's when we were making more money than we were spending. And that's after we had 21 clients. So that was a year ago February, not this last February. So it was really rather quick. We started really being able to market in you know, like I said, in August, September, October-ish, probably October sometime. And then that was when we were able to kind of break even. But yeah, I think that the key is you have to understand is operations does not bring money in the door. Operations it costs money. And so hiring caregivers is not a problem either. When I first started, it would take me a half hour to 45 minutes to interview a caregiver and find out, you know, all about them and all this kind of stuff. Now, I've turned that all over to my office staff, the hiring, but at the end, I knew within 10 minutes if a caregiver was going to be somebody that I could put in front of a client. And so it was pretty simple. And then we would do the nationwide background checks and all that kind of stuff to make sure they qualified. But I knew personality-wise exactly what I want my caregivers to be like. And so that's what we started hiring is getting to that person. So that was never an issue. We have great relationships with all the CNA schools, with all the PCW schools, with College America, with a bunch of different areas. And so that's kind of where we We get our caregivers. We also run ads, and we also do some nationwide stuff with caregivers. We have, right now, we usually get 6 to 7 applications for caregivers almost every day. So that's not an issue for us at all. Finding the business is literally being available to go sign people up is what I find. And that's what sometimes makes me work so late into the night. If I get a call at 7:30 at night from a concerned son or daughter and they need to meet right then, I am willing to go meet with people right then. I try and meet with people within an hour of the time that they call me. And the reason why is because if I can meet with them within an hour of the time they call me, guess what? My competition can't compete with that. They cannot do that. They just, for some reason, do not have the ability to do that, and I do. And so that's what I do.
Ken, a question from Donald Levin. Going back to you're going through caregivers. How do you, it's the chicken or the egg usually the question, right? When you first started out, it's kind of, well, I don't have clients yet. When do I get the caregivers, and which one is first? Can you address that?
Yeah, when I went through training, this was a brilliant analogy. Anybody that's ever been to Hawaii and driven around the island there always looks out to the ocean, and what do you see? You always see guys out there on their surfboards waiting for the waves to start. And the reason they're out there is because they realize as soon as the waves start coming, you can't swim out against the tide. It's almost impossible to catch up and catch the waves. You have to be ready and waiting. And so we always try and have, right now we hire 6 to 7 caregivers every week. We have an orientation every week, and we tell them, you know what? We sign 5 to 6 new clients every single week. Be patient with us. Give us a couple weeks. We'll get you working as many hours as you want. I remember one day we had a girl. I called her up. I met with her. She was up in Denver. We had a potential client up there, and so I called her up and I said, "How many hours do you need?" She says, "Ken, I am up to my eyeballs in debt. I need 100 hours a week." And I said, "Okay, great." So I got this client. The client was 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. I gave her all 7 days. She was working 116 hours a week, and she did that for almost 5 months. And all of a sudden, she called me one day and says, "Okay, I can breathe. Can we get a substitute in here?" So I'm willing to work with caregivers. The hard ones are the ones that want to work 2 hours a week and call it 40 hours a week. And that's why, we're really willing to help people that wanted to work 16 or 18 hours a week, but it's almost impossible nowadays. Now I need people with open schedules. I need people that are willing to work 40 hours a week or 50 or 60 hours a week, because that's the way these schedules come out. It's not that, I wish it was every client wanted 8 hours a day, but it's not. We've got combinations of things going all over. So the more open their schedules, the easier it is to employ them.
That's great. I'm going to unmute our good friend Grayson Hausman, coming to us from Florida. Grayson, can you hear me?
I actually can't.
That's brilliant. That's why we want Grayson on the team. That's exactly why, right there.
Well,
hey, Grayson, you had a few questions I thought were really good, and I just want to put you on the spot. I know that you would be fine with that, so if you'll ask Ken those questions live, I'd appreciate that.
Okay, great. Ken, first of all, congratulations on your success, and I know it hasn't come easy. I know you worked your butt off, but congratulations. You deserve kudos. I guess with the size of dollar size of your success and number of clients you have, how many territories do you own?
One. I own Colorado Springs and Pueblo, which is my area. I plan on buying all of Denver. So
you're doing all this business with 40,000, 50,000 seniors then? Is that?
I don't know how many seniors. We have a huge senior population in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
I would say 90% of my clients are in Colorado Springs. I have maybe a couple percent of clients down in Pueblo and a couple percent of clients up in Denver. But the bulk of my clients are in Colorado Springs. I think it's really, really, really important to kind of work. I know everybody says, "Oh, I want this I want all of New York City." The problem is New York City has so many referral sources that if you try and dominate a city that big, you would have to work 63 hours a day. I mean, there's just no way. I work my butt off, and I really spend 90% of my time in Colorado Springs.
Right. Okay. Okay.
I mean, now, just an example. I'm on, as soon as I got my franchise, I joined the Senior Resource Council of Colorado Springs and was elected to the board there. So this morning at 7 a.m., I had a board meeting that went from 7 to 9. So that, to me, is a huge opportunity for me to meet people in the industry, meet my referral sources, and help them with things that, that work for them, too.
That's a good idea.
And at the same time, I'll say that we've committed to Ken, as we do to our franchisees, that that Denver area, Ken already has clients there. So anybody comes looking at that area, we're always going to defer to Ken. We have a great person looking at Fort Collins, and that's a little further away from Ken, but we really see the Denver market as Ken's market, and when he's ready to acquire those territories, great. But we really see that as Ken's world.
And just to go along with that, just so everybody understands that, when we were looking at some of the other franchises, they give you postage stamps areas, literally 100,000 people. In Colorado, Visiting Angels has 4 franchises. Right at Home has 1 franchise, but he's bought the whole area. But they have a different franchise 10 miles north of me in a little town called Castle Rock. So,
crazy.
And I will say that your success comes directly from your efforts. No amount of great marketing on a corporate level is going to overcome somebody sitting in their office all day and hoping that somebody calls them, because it doesn't happen that way. Nobody hears of Amada online and says, "Oh my gosh." Well, I guess some people do, but most of them don't. It's direct marketing. It is out there, getting in their faces, getting them to know who I am, so they understand what I bring to the table. So that's kind of where we go from there. I mean, it's literally, you have to be out. You are not going to just have somebody, you're not going to get 50 calls a year because somebody thinks, that they want you. We advertise in every major book, or they have hospital books here. We always take the front page, and so we get a lot of referrals from that. Where we spend money. I mean, we spend money, and we spend lots of time and effort.
Great. And any follow-up questions to that?
Can you sort of answered the third question? I had a total of 3, and Amada is experiencing some real good growth, but they're not like you said, a Bright Star or some of these Visiting Angels, some of these other big names. Has a lack of branding at this time, has that hurt you at all?
You know what I love about that is I am making my own brand. Everybody knows Amada because of Ken Jenson. And so I make or break my own brand. I don't have anything to worry about. I go out there and they view me as the face of the company. And so when I go out there and do something and we take care of families, or we take care of somebody and we do things, it comes directly back to our brand. We build our own brand, which is a great thing because it's been a growing experience. We've done some things that were really not cost effective and then we've done other things that have been an absolute grand slam, and it's a learning thing. But it's been great. Like I said, I've gone face to face with 15 different times with my competition, and I have yet to lose. And a lot of it has to do with most of those other companies. They hire salesmen to go out, and usually they're typically young people, and they go out there and they have no say as to how a company is going to roll or how they're going to take care of somebody. They can look at a family and say, well, we hope we can take care of your mom, or you know what, we think we can, I can tell people exactly what I want them to hear and give them the message I want them to hear because I own the company. So that's never been an issue with me. I'll tell you some interesting things though. I have clients that we share with other companies because they can't get the caregivers to take the whole client. I don't have a single client that I share with somebody else because I can't get the caregivers to take care of them. And some of these are large clients. I've got one client right now that's a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week client. The company that had the client, they are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, 24 hours a day, 4 days a week because they can't handle the client.
Wow.
Ken, I've got a question from Alan Bask, and guys, thank you so much. I actually have quite a few questions here, but I thought a very good one is you're used to making a very good living ever since you got out of college, and starting on this venture. Talk about when were you able to start taking money home, and how did that work out in your situation?
Well, we had a money partner, and so we took a very small salary for the first year. And we're able to, survive during that first year. And then after that, we've taken an okay salary now, and I expect that will continue to grow as we continue to grow. I think that this is an industry this is a situation or an opportunity that if you have the drive, I can easily see somebody bringing home $25,000 to $30,000 a month, easily, without. I mean, literally, that is something that you probably can accomplish within 2 years. If you get to the point where you're selling that kind of, you're generating $3, $4, $5 million a year in income because, or gross sales, because that's where Amada lets you go. The thing that turned me off completely about the other franchises was they want you to be happy at $80,000 to $100,000 a year. And that's just not that's just not where I was comfortable being.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think with
that.
the way the Amada thing sets it up, if you go out and you generate $5 million in sales, you have every right and opportunity to be making $25,000, $30,000 a month.
That's right. Tell us, you made a comment about New York City, and a lot of the folks are from New York City, and Richard just asked, wait, did Ken say that having a franchise in New York City is a bad idea? So go back and mention what you were talking about, territory size.
Right. What I said was, I want New York City. I'm moving from Colorado. I just think that what I was trying to say is you have to be able to manage your area. And so if you tried to say, I want to buy all of New York City, for one guy to try and manage all of New York City would be almost impossible. And so I think that the franchise areas that Amada gives us are so enormous, it allows us to be successful. It allows us to say, I want to bill $5 million a year in home care, or $10 million a year in home care, and actually accomplish that. I think buying 2 or 3 areas is probably brilliant. I think buying, you have to be able to manage. And I spent a day with one of our friends, another franchisee, and I looked at their area, and it was phenomenal, the amount of stuff in their area. It's 10 times bigger than the stuff I have in Colorado Springs. And so I know they're going to be successful because they have the ability to get those referral sources, and they're going to kill it. And it's just about going out and making those relationships, and you have to do something that you're comfortable with. It has to be something that you feel confident in, and then it works. And as soon as you feel comfortable and confident, it's amazing how all of a sudden things start working to your advantage. But no, New York I think would be a fabulous area. It's just so enormous that I don't think you could do the whole island. But you could split it up, and I mean I'd be all over that thing.
That's great.
There's a show, and it's called Turning Point. and they did a segment, or they did a show about a lady that started a home care company in New York City. It is the most touching thing I've ever seen in my life. We put it on our Facebook, but if anybody wanted to watch that, it is amazing. And she got volunteers to do it. But I know cities like that on the East Coast are going to be absolute gold mines because people need the help and they have the wherewithal to provide for that help. Whether it's long-term care insurance, whether it's cash, whether it's military benefits, those things are there. And Amada helps us kind of tap into those resources and help those people achieve, you know, what they want. And Amada's working on another one that's just cutting edge that I've already presented a couple of times. It's also going to be an absolute grand slam to help people.
That's a great answer. Thank you so much. And that was Rich Cisneros. We've been going back and forth, and I just want to make sure that you understood that we are very excited about New York. Now, I know that we don't want to keep you for more than an hour. We want to keep our folks for more than an hour here. Let's go back down to dollars and cents. There's a lot of questions about that. Starting with, talk about your costs when you talk about royalties, the technology fee, and then your staff and office. And today, right, where you're at almost 2 years, what is that monthly nut roughly for you?
Okay, so let me just start off this way. I don't typically. I charge my private pay clients $21 an hour. I charge my insurance clients $26 an hour because I build an insurance company. So those are my charges. I start all my caregivers at $10
an hour for when the $21 an hour when the family pays for it, $26 an hour when it's an insurance carrier like a Genworth,
like
New York Life, or something like that,
yeah.
or John Hancock, or something like that. Okay.
Okay, and that's for the pain in the neck of doing all the paperwork and doing all the other stuff. And the families love that. They have no issue with that ever. I start all my caregivers off at $10 an hour. I don't care if they've been a caregiver for 50 years, they have a CNA, they have a nursing degree, they have a doctor's degree. I start them off at $10 an hour. And the reason why is because they have to prove to me that they're going to do the most important thing, which is show up on time, on schedule. I have no need for people that don't want to show up on time or on schedule. So if they can't show up on the day that they're scheduled and on time, then I don't employ them anymore. I have currently over 120 caregivers. And like I said, we weed out the bottom ones every single week, and we hire new ones every single week. So we're constantly changing that. My office staff, I think that my office staff cost me right around $10,000 a month. My office space cost me $2,000 a month. So that's what I have there. My marketing, I spend typically $3,000 a month in marketing. I probably spend an additional $1,000 a month in advertising. And then that's probably it. That's probably my expenses. Okay. What else did you say, Marcos?
That's
probably pretty close.
Yeah, and that was basically 3 questions that were asked.
Yeah, and then so every time we bring on a client that, you know, at $21 an hour, I'm ensuring that I have a pretty good margin. At $25, $26 an hour, I have a very good margin, so that those costs get, you know, those dollars get driven right to the bottom line. When we first started, we started at $18 an hour and $22 an hour, and I very quickly realized that that was not feasible. I had to be at least 20 and at least 25, and since then we've gone to 21 and 26. And without a hiccup. Nobody even is concerned. What people are concerned about is their care. They're not concerned about that extra dollar. In fact, I was in the house with a client. They had interviewed 2 other companies. And after we sat down and talked to them about, you know, they had a long-term care policy, and we talked about the policy, went through it all. The lady looked at me, she says, "Okay, I'm ready to sign up." And I was kind of introducing a new person in our company to how I do business. And he looked at me and she looked at the lady and he says, "You're going to just sign up right like that?" She says, "Yeah." She says, "Well, wait a minute. I see these 2 other brochures here. One's Visiting Angels, one's Right at Home." She says, "Yeah." She says, is Ken's company more expensive or less expensive?" She says, "It's more expensive." And he said, well, why are you choosing him? She says, because he makes it too easy. He makes doing this, it's easy. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I live in Washington State. I don't want to have to deal with all the things that the other companies make me deal with. And so that's our goal. And like I said, we are the Broadmoor of home care in Colorado, or the Plaza Hotel in New York. We are not Motel 6. If somebody wants Motel 6, they do not want to deal with my Amada. They might go somewhere else, and I'm okay with that. I understand that. But it's really important that we're financially sound, and that's a big deal.
That's fantastic. Do you have a little bit of information about how, on average, how long clients stay with you? Like I said, we started in November in 2012, got to 21 clients, and we had 7 die in 1 month, and that was brutal. And I thought, oh my gosh, if this keeps up like this, I don't think I have the heart to continue to do this. But then we did not have a single person pass away for almost 14 months. So that was a big, that was, thank goodness. Phew. But our goal is to keep them on service as long as they can. We have our original first 2 clients. One was a 24-hour day, 7-day-a-week family. The other one was 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they're still in our clientele. And you know what? I found that if you give them good caregivers, they will stay with you. Even if you have a really bad caregiver, as long as they feel like you're answering their questions and hearing their concerns, they will stay with you. People get better, or people pass away, or people move. We've had all of those situations, but it's not been. I have very few times where a client has started with us and then quit without at least giving us a reason or a chance to save it. And so that's kind of. Does that answer that question? I know it's not really a number, which is I'm sure what you're looking for, but that's kind of my best guess. That's okay. That's okay.
Again, well, that's an operations question, Marcos, and I have no idea. But from the sales side, that's my answer. I have no idea.
No, that's great. That's great. Now tell me a couple other questions. Let's see. Any guidance for operating in an area that's a little more rural or sparsely populated? I think Colorado Springs is not rural, but it is fairly big out there, right?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, my goodness. For me, like I said, I've already driven 125 miles today, and that's just been in Colorado Springs. I haven't been anywhere near Denver or Pueblo. That's just been in Colorado Springs. So those kind of things, you have to be willing to service your clientele, and you have to be willing to drive. Every Friday morning, I go up to one of my biggest referral sources and drop them off all kinds of stuff every Friday, even though it takes me 55 minutes to get there and 55 minutes to get back. And sometimes I have a 9 o'clock appointment in Colorado Springs, and so I leave at 7 o'clock to get up there, deliver my stuff, and get back. And I have to do that because they are one of my most important referral sources. And so I do. Every Friday I go up there, every single Friday. I never, ever miss. I never miss delivering my referral sources because I want them to know that I care about them and that they can rely on me. And so that's really important. And so those are the kind of things that I do, and I do it all the time.
When you talked about rewarding your best caregivers as you pay them more, they start at $10. What's your upper end of caregiver salaries?
My highest paid caregiver makes $13 an hour. My next probably top 10 make $12 an hour. I have a bunch that still make $10 an hour. And so I'm not top heavy at all. I only have one girl that makes $13 an hour.
Perfect. Guys, there's a lot of good questions still. I'm very, very impressed by the questions you guys are asking. I just want to be mindful of your time and Ken's time as well. Ken, I'm going to give you just 3 more, and then we'll call it a day. Okay?
You can do whatever you want. They can click off if they get bored. They're welcome to leave. Easy. You don't have to worry about that, Marcos.
Tell us about, some companies offer. This is by Joe Labellarte. Joe, great to have you on the call. Thank you. We met Joe last week. I would unmute. I just want to be a little quicker. Talking about companies that offer both medical and non-medical. When you said you do not lose business to your competition, how has that been a factor in your territory dealing with companies that do both medical and non-medical?
I team with 2 different companies that do medical. So they are my team members. So when I find a client that needs medical, I refer them. I can't tell you how many times I am in an intake with a family and I look across at mom and dad and say, you know what, we really need to get you some physical therapy starting right now. They say, oh, we would love that. And I call my teammate right from their home. I hand them the phone and say, this is Dee from Life Care Centers at Home. Talk to her. Let her give you the information that give her the information she needs so that she can help get you some physical therapy, occupational therapy right now. That kind of solves that whole problem. So so I know some of those companies here in Colorado. It's called A and B. We're a B company. They're A companies. But I have never had that issue because I have teammates that I can call at the drop of a hat that will take my call at the drop of a hat, and they will help those families with that part. So in fact, I have one guy up that we just signed up about a month ago. He was having occupational therapy with a Class A company. And I talked to his son about doing home care, and his son said that'd be great. He had a long-term care insurance policy with John Hancock. I go up there and meet with him, and the company they also had a Class B side of their company. So they did the occupational therapy, the physical therapy, but they also did home care. And when we sat down and talked, the son looked at his dad and said, Dad, do you just want to go with the company that's already here in the house with their caregivers, or do you want to choose Ken? He says, oh, no, I want to go with Ken. I want to use his company. So it's just on how it's not a big deal. It has never been a big deal for us here in Colorado. I don't know what that means for, as it's different in every state, but here it's never been an issue because I have that partner right at my hand.
There was a great question here from Joe again. You talked about having 42 different referral sources, and actually a comment here from me, guys, is you've talked to one Amada franchisee, you've talked to one Amada franchisee. What I love about this is we're quite proud of having people like Ken in our family because none of our franchisees are cookie-cutter type of guys who just wanted to follow a system and be drones. Ken has 42 referral sources. You'll talk to other franchisees who have 5 and yet have great businesses. And so can you talk a little bit about that as far as the 42 referral sources? Is it 90% coming from one or 50? Tell us more about that.
No. I don't think any of my referral sources are any more. Well, I have one referral source, but it's a whole company that is 30% of my business. Nobody else is probably more than 10. Got it. That's probably the most important thing. We deal with companies everywhere I can. If I think they're a potential referral source, I try and market with them. And my marketing process is very simple and very non-aggressive and very non-threatening. And so I get to know people before they even know what we do or how we do it. And so it's a very simple process that I employ that works for me. It works for me, and it might not work for you. I think the critical thing is you have to do things you're comfortable with. There are great guys that do Amada stuff that get lots of referrals from hospitals. I don't get any referrals from hospitals. So you have to go with what you're comfortable with. And so I hope at some point that will become a referral source for me, and I'm trying to break into that source. but I can't state hard enough that you do stuff that you feel comfortable with, so that when you are faced with something, you're in your comfort zone, and that makes sense to me.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. All right. Well, listen, one more. We talk about the turnover of caregivers. That came up a few times. Two more. Turnover of caregivers. And we talk about the initial investment. I'll ask both, and you can answer both. The initial investment, we talk about being $90,000 to $170,000, and that's just an example. And we talk about $90,000 to $170,000 in your first 3 to 6 months. Can you talk a little bit about that initial investment?
Okay, so the hard thing about the initial investment, it depends. If you have 5 clients after a year, you're not going to need $170,000 because you're not going through capital. We, like I said, woke up one day and had a $380,000 receivable account. So we needed more cash, and now we've got that down. We probably would never have gone through that much cash if we hadn't had let things get out of whack. Again, my ineptitude at operations is probably the most critical error there. But I think that you can grow your company as quickly as you can when you have 42 referral sources and you're getting 3 and 4 referrals every week. You have the potential to get 3 and 4 new clients every week. And there have been weeks when we've signed, there have been days when I've signed 7 new clients in one day, and I've done that multiple times. Thank goodness I didn't do that 5 times in the same week. My office staff would have killed me. But yeah, it's that growth thing. Are you going to be out there working 60 hours a week selling? Because if you are, you're going to grow a lot faster than if you're spending 40 hours a week doing operations and 5 hours selling. So that's kind of, that's a good thing and a bad thing, and it can work for you and against you. The other question is turnover of caregivers. I currently have, I think I looked at my board this morning, somewhere around 120, 125 caregivers. We have hired over 700 caregivers in a year and a half, or close to 2 years. So people say, oh my gosh, that's tremendous turnover. I am shocked at how many times I will hire a caregiver. She'll come in, go through orientation. She will sit there for 2 hours for orientation. We'll turn around and give her a shift, and she won't even show up for the first shift. So I would say probably out of those 700, I'll bet at least 200 never even worked for me. So that's just kind of, it is what it is. It's this high demand call or job, but the problem is, even though I pay more than any of my competitors in Colorado Springs, the girl calls up and says, hey, my boyfriend got tickets to the Rockies tonight, and I want to go watch the Rockies play, and they quit over a baseball game. I love caregivers that have gray hair, and so we get a lot of great caregivers that have a little bit of age, and they tend to be our best caregivers. But it's also hard to find, it's easy to find CNAs that are 22 years old. It's hard to find CNAs or somebody with experience that's 45 or 50 years old. But, it is what it is. It's part of the process, and it's never hurt us, and it's never been a situation where we couldn't find good caregivers to handle shifts.
Perfect. All right. Well, I wanted to thank everybody for being on the call. And Ken, I'd like to give you just the last word on what is your biggest advice to anyone who's looking to get into senior care, not just Amada, but just if you're interested in getting into senior care, what's your biggest advice?
I think the biggest advice that you need to remember is people say, oh my gosh, why would you pay somebody else so much money to help you run a business? I don't think I would be even close to where I am today if I had not learned how to do this from Amada. The second thing I would say is you're going to pay somebody for their telephony, or you're going to pay somebody for their software package. You're going to pay somebody for advice. You're going to pay somebody to help you be in business. And I chose to pay Amada. And you know what? They've been great business partners. They've helped me. If you would have said 3 years ago that I'd do $1 million in my first year in an industry that I never even knew existed 3.5 years ago, I'd have thought, oh, you're crazy. but because of the way Amada trained us, because of the way Amada teaches us to do business, it allows me to be successful. And I am always out there working, and they are always keeping their eye on the next great thing or the next thing that's going to come down the road that's going to help me be successful. So I feel like I've got a partner that is watching the forward vision of what's coming down the road, helping me be ready to take advantage of whatever comes down that road. And that's a big deal for a guy that is not a great operations guy, and a guy that is trying to focus on what I'm doing right now 24 hours a day, and they help me be successful. And so that's what I'd say. It's been the greatest thing I've ever done, and I have enjoyed every one of my minutes. Now, is Amada perfect? No, they're not perfect. Am I perfect? My wife will guarantee that I am not perfect. But they're very workable, and they help us, and I think that's what you need to understand.
All right. Ken, again, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And for all of you who want to continue going through the discovery process, you have Tim's contact information and phone number. You're welcome to reach out to him to continue scheduling our steps. As you all know, it takes 30 to 45 days. We take our time. We never pressure anybody to join our family. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. We want to partner with people that we really truly can call family. And but thank you so much for taking the time to be with us here today. Ken, again, thank you so much.
Thank you. And they're all welcome to call me if they ever want to have a personal conversation. I'm willing to share anything that I do with any of our franchise members. So anytime I can help.
Thank you so much, Ken. All right, everybody, we'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.